Welcome back, everybody. Time for some more End of a New Beginning as I play through as the United States of America. It is now January 1870. We're in the process of fully readmitting the former Confederate states so that we gain cores on them. We continue the process of marching south through Central America, and we're going to at least probably take up through San Jose for now. I keep saying San Jose, Costa Rica. For now, and we'll kind of see where we're at from there. I think at some point very soon we're going to discover what happens when we get to the end of the Reconstruction focus tree, because we will be getting a new focus tree at that point. I don't know much about it, what to expect, but I'm told there is a new focus tree once you end Reconstruction. So we may yet get to that in this episode. We'll see how quickly we burn through all these other ones. While we're doing that, let's take a look at the ledger and look at some information about where nations rank right now in the world. You can see the United Kingdom is ranked as the #1 power in the world. We're number 2, followed by the French, the North German Confederation, and then the Ottomans. You can see the government types here. You can see the overall population, which we're up to 51 million now. A lot of that has to do with the nations we've conquered, but also immigration that's happening. Number of factories, we're dead even with the United Kingdom. We don't have nearly as many as the Germans, but we have way more than the Ottomans. Number of divisions, you can see the huge size of the German army right now. And then the number of ships right now in the Navy. Obviously, the British have the #1 Navy. The French are second. We have the 3rd largest Navy in the world, at least that I can see here. Let's look at some other things. Well, apparently that's all. I'm clicking next, but nothing happens. So I guess this is just the basic information that we have. Let's go ahead and take a look at where we're at on research. We're working on Ironclad Hull 1865. I really need to start beefing up my Navy because that's something that we're going to need in the time to come. Let's go ahead and research our first Navy doctrine and start working on some of that while we continue to work on land doctrine as well. What has recently happened in Poland is quite a surprise to everyone. Due to international pressure and somewhat successful actions of Polish insurgents, the Russian Tsar has decided to restore the Polish kingdom, the same one which was disbanded over 30 years ago during the reign of his father, Nicholas I. This situation doesn't quite satisfy the Poles, but it allows them to decide for themselves to some extent. So there you have it right there. Speaking of Russia, I don't think, did we look at their focus tree last time? I can't remember. I think maybe we did, but you can, just in case we didn't, you can see some of what's available here. Set up the government of Alaska. That's sell Alaska as an option there if they chose to do that, which they did in our timeline. And then you've got different trees here. Outcome of the Crimean War, the reign of Tsar Alexander II, Third Rome. So there's really cool. Russia seems like it would be a really interesting focus tree, a really interesting nation to take on, because there's certainly some events there that could have an impact on the world. Somebody requested that I look at Sweden. I'm not sure that Sweden is going to have... Oh, no, they do. Okay, cool. I figured maybe they just have a generic focus tree, but they do have quite a bit here. You can look at all that. It's not quite as fleshed out as some are. But you can see here liberalization versus traditionalism. You can decide who leads in this timeline. I'm really not that familiar with Swedish history to kind of understand all of this, but to somebody who is Swedish, and I know we have some viewers who are Swedish, I'm sure a lot of this will be found very interesting to you. So I'm just kind of looking over all of it. You can certainly pause the video so you can read over some of those things without me going over every little step of it. So let's talk about that war for a second. It's historically called the Franco-Prussian War, but it was in fact France versus the North German Confederation. The numbers in terms of initial strength was pretty even on both sides numerically in the army, though the Germans eventually did have a total deployment that was probably about 4-3 is the way you could say it, about 2 million to 1.5 million. But the casualties were just, actually it was the French who outnumbered the Germans 2 million to 1.5 million, but the casualties were just obscene on the French side. The French lost 139,000 dead, 143,000 wounded, and almost 500,000 captured or interned. The Germans only lost about a third as many killed and about half as many wounded. Now, in addition to that, there were 162,000 Germans who died in a smallpox epidemic that was spread by French POWs. So kind of like almost like biological warfare there. But it was a victory for the Germans. And it resulted in the Treaty of Frankfurt, which ended up kind of causing the end of the Second French Empire, formation of a new republic in France, and then of course the ongoing crisis of enmity, kind of anger between those two nations that came to a head 40 years later in the First World War. So there's Readmit, Arkansas. And while we're watching this Franco-Prussian War continue, interesting thing. So at this time, Napoleon III is the Emperor of France, and he had been the Emperor of France something like 18 years, although it's showing here Napoleon IV at this point, so things have gone a little differently. Napoleon III, after he had to step down when France lost this war, ends up in England, and he is actually buried in England. He died in 1873, and he's buried in let's see, Hampshire, St. Michael's Abbey Church, right on the edge of Hampshire. I'm kind of looking at the map. That's actually really not all that far from London, where he's buried. So workers afraid to go to work because of the KKK. We're going to send in the troops once again. We're going to keep dealing with them. All right, Justification against Nicaragua is complete. So I don't even have troops down there at the moment. Let's send Meade. He's the one I think that we've been using. Oh, okay, they're there. They just weren't showing up for some reason. All right. Let's declare war on Nicaragua. Actually didn't give Meade orders yet. There we go. And go, boys. Another one of these fairly one-sided conflicts that shouldn't take very long. Riots in the streets. Oh, boy. The weak and unstable Republican Party. So we're losing political stability regularly here, and I'm not entirely sure why that is. But at some point, we're probably going to have to turn to the Democrats because of it. A loyal league, or a union league, was a somewhat secretive club promoting loyalty to the Union in order to combat treasonous words and actions. Although they have lesser influence than they did in the Civil War, they still have a footprint within the nation. Outside of a loyal league in one of the southern states, the Loyal League's building was terrorized and assaulted by a roving band of KKK members. Man, I am desperately trying to deal with the Klan. We'll gain 3 more Reconstruction points. We'll send in the army. We're also starting to declare, we won the war there in Nicaragua. We're working on Costa Rica. That'll be done in January. And now we're starting to declare on Colombia. That'll get our first foothold into South America. Let's see what's going on over in Europe. And it looks like the Germans are well on their way toward victory over the French. It's shown as the French-Baden War now. 83,000, wow. Major losses on the German side so far. So even though they're winning, it's coming at a great cost. All right, it's January 1871, and we have completed our justification on Costa Rica. It's our last step before entering South America.
Yes, sir.
And it's only one territory, so it's just a matter of marching in. Interesting, there were 2 different World's Fairs, apparently. 17 losses compared to 3,000 for Costa Rica. We've invented metal cartridges, or researched them, I should say. Not necessarily ours to invent. Let's go ahead and take a look at... Oh, we can go to the next level of machine guns. So let's go ahead and do that. And then let's go ahead and take a look and see where things stand with the Franco-Prussian War as soon as we missed readmitting Florida. Let's go ahead and do that. We're almost done with that, so we're going to be able to finish the Reconstruction tree here pretty soon. All right, there you can see the German Confederation marching their way into France. That one's probably going to end within a couple of months. All right, we've got an opportunity here to push anti-KKK legislation. Let's do that. I don't know what that'll mean, but we're at -3 now for political stability, which is no good at all. Let's take a look at the actual status of the Franco-Prussian War. Wow, almost 500,000 lost for the Germans, as opposed to just 170,000 for the French, but it still seems to be pushing in that direction. But we'll see at some point Germany may run out of the ability to make war on France if they keep losing manpower like that. The end of the French Empire. Following the capture of the French emperor in this most recent war with the Prussians, the political power vacuum was created with the effective capture of the chief executive of the French government. Republicans within the French imperial government seized the opportunity and declared a new republic, making this the third French republic, depending on how you count, the 12th French government in 90 years. We're going to research, oh boy, that's going to take a while, early power station, but let's go ahead and do it. We're getting ready for the invasion of South America. Colombia, that'll happen in August of 1871. So I guess, does that mean the Franco-Prussian? The war's not over. The war continues. It just, the government in France has changed. Well, there it is. The North German Confederation and France have signed a white peace. I'm really surprised by that, considering just how much the Germans were doing and how many men they had lost, that they would just settle for a white peace like that. We no longer have the effects of the Treaty of Washington. Not entirely sure what that means. And I didn't realize that the United Kingdom had this tiny little sliver of territory on the coast there. So what I'm watching for now is right here in the decisions. Once this push the anti-KKK legislation is done, I'm hoping it's going to give me the option to either arrest Klan leaders or destroy the Klan completely, because when that happens, you no longer have to fight with the KKK. It looks like it's not going to give me that option yet, and I'm not really sure why that is, that we aren't able to choose that just yet, but I guess we'll keep an eye on that for when we can. All right, Justification for invading Colombia is complete. This is going to be interesting because obviously supply is going to be an issue because we have such weak infrastructure in all the newly conquered territory. I've been trying to build in construction. I'm trying to build infrastructure in places I don't have it, but I have so few factories that it makes it really difficult. I'm hoping when Reconstruction's done, the new focus tree that I will get will allow me to rapidly expand the number of civilian factories I have so I can start building more. I'm trying to build more factories, trying to build more infrastructure. It's just happening really, really slowly. All right, here we go. We'll see how this works out. I don't know what kind of army we're facing, but it looks like Chile is on my side. Apparently Chile was already at war. Well, that's kind of weird. They're both on my side and also on the other side. I don't know if there's a civil war going on there or something. What's going on? Non-aggression pact from Chile. Yeah, sure, we'll take that for now. Readmit Mississippi. So let's see where we're at now with this. So all we've got left now is to end Reconstruction. So that's going to give me a base stability and war support increase. It'll also end the U.S. focus tree as of the current. Oh, this is the end of the focus tree as of the current update. How the Reconstruction era ends depends on how many Reconstruction points you have. All right, so I'm going to save the game before I allow that to go forward, just because I don't know what's going to happen when we do that. Well, we have yet to break through the first territory here in the province of Panama Canal, which is really frustrating, even though we have inflicted 58,000 casualties and only lost 8,000. Just not going anywhere right now. We're going to see in just a minute here, though, what happens with the end of Reconstruction. We may just have no national focus at that point that we can work on. Remember, this is a work in progress, and so this This mod is supposed to go through the year 2050, but it's got a long way to go to get there. So the Civil War is long past us, and it is time for us to enter a new age of progress and industry. It's time to pull the troops from the South and declare the end of the Reconstruction period. Replace limited equality with segregation. That's frustrating. Changes the national focus tree to USA Gilded Age. Okay, so I don't know if that actually exists yet. Okay, we do have a little bit of stuff here. That's good. It at least gives me something to work on. So there's some stuff here, and it does look like it's primarily focused on kind of internal building up of things. So that's good. That's a good start for us. American Dream over here. British immigration, Russian immigration, German immigration, and Italian immigration. Awesome. So interesting new events and decisions available now. Of course, the Gilded Age, this is the time, the 1870 to 1900. This is when kind of the big titans of industry come about. The John D. Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, J.P. Morgan, finance, things like that. You've also got big inventions happening, like Thomas Edison with the light bulb. You've got the phonograph, the motion pictures come about here during this time period. So a lot going on in this post-Civil War era. Standard Oil is, of course, John D. Rockefeller's company. By the way, I highly recommend The Men Who Built America. Fantastic kind of documentary slash, like a docudrama. My wife, who doesn't like history, really loved it. So that, even if you're not into traditional kind of historical storytelling, it really does a cool job of that. So, so we've got the opportunity here to affect the influence, popularity, and opinion of Standard Oil and Carnegie Steel right now. I don't see myself doing either at the moment. Third Enforcement Act, we're still trying to deal with the Klan. Hopefully, maybe we'll finally... Oh, now we can arrest Klan leaders. Good. Then maybe we'll be able to destroy the Klan after that. Our political stability is at -4. Obviously not a good thing. We can advance to the machine era as long as we have researched all of these things, and it's past 1880. So that's cool. Develop the American homeland. A lot of new things available here, so this is cool. I'm excited. All right, we've completed the Gilded Age national focus. Let's go ahead and take a look. Down here, once we get through a lot of this, we've got rapid industrialization, which gives me a bunch of nice bonuses, especially for construction speed on new factories. That's going to be helpful. Progress of the machines, captains of industry or robber barons. So we're going to have to make choices about Standard Oil versus Carnegie Steel once we get down there. We also have this over here, though, which immigration, it's going to hurt manpower in England, but improve my manpower. And I don't really need the manpower right now. So that immigration strategy doesn't seem to really make sense to me. Improve literacy. Rethink our position. Adjust policies. I'm not really sure where we want to go with all of that. Complete reintegration will definitely do, though. So this is getting ugly here. My political stability is at -5, and I don't seem to have any way of turning that around. Seeing no end to the fighting, the people of the United States of America have officially called for a forceful takeover of the government. Militias have already taken over most of our government institutionals. Coordinated combat is now taking place on the very streets of our cities with the goal of forcing out our own military forces. It's now a matter of time before the new government gets proclaimed, and if we fail to somehow partly contain the situation until then, we will forever lose control. Yikes. So basically what we've got is we're in the process of a military coup that's going to take over the government. I'm just looking to see if there's anything at all that I can do about this. Any way, even by holding elections maybe, that would allow me to fix this. But I don't seem to see a way to do that. Maybe it's over here. I think maybe in here we can call for elections. Yeah, let's do that. Let's call for new elections. Maybe that'll help deal with the issue. In the meantime, let's defeat slavery for good. And we still haven't broken through. Oh, we did. We finally took Panama. So we finally made a little progress, and I think that's mostly because we just inflicted so many casualties, 93,000 to 18,000 now, that they just have very little fielded manpower left. All right, 1872 Republican nomination. Nominate Grant. So historically, Grant serves 2 terms, and there was actually some talk of nominating him again in 76 and again in 1880. But he definitely served a 2nd term, although we still have Abraham Lincoln here for some reason. And you can see he's a controversial figure, so he's causing the stability hit. So I don't know why we're not replacing Lincoln with Grant with the election, because I think that's what's really hurting us right now is Lincoln's continued presence. There we go. Welcome to the White House, Ulysses S. Grant's inauguration. So hopefully, there we go. And he's still also a general, but that's okay. So we finally have Grant in there now. That's going to hopefully start to help heal the wounds of political instability, I would think. Prototype submarine hull. Let's do it. We'll look and see if there's anything as far as decisions go that weren't there before, now that we have Grant. We still can't destroy the Klan, but we'll keep working at it. We finally broken out into the mainland of South America. It took a while to push through Panama, but we finally did it. You can see here now we're very quickly going to deal with Colombia. I have started the process of, oh boy, so much for that. It's officially over. The radical forces have successfully taken most of the government institutions, pushed our forces out of the big city. So we're American radical democracy now. All right. So now, just like that, John Bell is the president. So much for Ulysses S. Grant. So any elections are by event now. Dang. Okay. So John Bell was the guy who ran as kind of a middle-of-the-road candidate in 1860. He was kind of a choice, but that was kind of not quite as radical as Abraham Lincoln or as Stephen Douglas or Breckinridge. Let's see, promote the civil service. Let's do that. So we'll have Colombia taken care of here pretty soon. All right, there we go. I think we just defeated Colombia. I was in the process of working up a Justification war goal on Ecuador. And I guess we didn't even need to do anything to finish that one off. So Venezuela's next, and that'll come in August of 1872, so not long from now. Relations return to normal. Our aggressive moves in the past are behind us now, and we are no longer under suspect by our neighbors. Okay. Puerto Rico declares war on Spain. Interesting. Assimilation programs. Invest in railways. Let's do that. We'll add a little bit of infrastructure there. So we're in the process now of... Remember, I said my goal was, I think, 1890 to have all the Western Hemisphere. Obviously, Canada is going to be the interesting one because that'll probably mean war with the United Kingdom. We do have a civil war going on in Spain, which is probably why Puerto Rico thought it would be a good time to break away. So there they are. So I think we're going to wrap it up right there. That's a lot that happened, and our country looks very different than it did at the start. But let me know your thoughts, and please, as always, if you like this and you want to see more of it, please drop a like and also a comment, and make sure that you subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching.